Oh, here it is. All right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake here.
Jake, how you been?
I've been good.
Good.
I've been
good.
Well. I'll get blowback if I say I'm good. So,
well, no one can be good. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
So well, it's good to see you. It's been a minute. We had some people ask about where we've been, and we've just been busy with life.
Yeah, we kind of fell off the map a little.
Yep. Sometimes, as you can imagine, and I'm sure you can relate, sometimes you get buried with work, and you ever have those seasons at work, and you're just wore out. And that's kind of where I've been, and I think Jake's had some of that too.
Yeah, we had chicken day and deer hunting and all that stuff, so we had a lot of processing to do. So busy.
Yep. And then we had family events and
right.
That kind of changes, but we're going through a season of interviews, and that's what we're doing tonight. And we've got several interviews coming up, from authors to all kinds of different things. People that make T-shirts and lots of different things. We like doing interviews because it's fun to talk to people, and so that's what we're doing tonight.
Connect to people, right?
Yep. And so, Jake, you want to introduce our guest?
Yes. So tonight we have Sabbath Lounge's own Matthew Martin, and if you remember, we had him on previously to talk about Project E15 that he's working on, and he's got some new stuff for us. So why don't we just throw it to him, and he can kind of introduce us to what's going on and what he's got in the works, and we'll kind of discuss some new projects going on.
Come on. It's great to be with you guys tonight. And I think it's been almost exactly a year.
It feels like it.
Yeah, almost to the month, I think. And so really excited to be with you guys again. Since we've spoken last, man, it's been an amazing, really just roller coaster of the Father's faithfulness. And we've been, since we've last talked, I've been back in El Salvador. I think I talked to you about going to Guatemala. Had an amazing time in Guatemala. Amazing time back and forth to Honduras as we've just been traveling. And at this point, man, we've connected to so many countries in both Central and South America, from both what we're doing with children, but also, man, what's happening in this walk down there. It is really amazing. Just a fun story. I was just in El Salvador 2 weeks ago. We did another conference. We were in 3 different cities, 5 events over 3 days. It was radical. But that Friday morning, I met a pastor who had recently come into Torah and had began to Shabbat and see the Sabbath. And he's in San Salvador, which is the capital, and that's where we've been doing ministry. We've been signing legal paperwork and continuing our launch into El Salvador with Project E15. And so just getting a chance to get to know him, and as he's kind of come into this walk, I asked him, I said, what was it? What was the catalyst for you and coming to Sabbath, coming into the feast days and everything else? And he said, he was reading the Gospels and the story where Yeshua says, I've come only for the lost sheep of Israel. And he said, I've been a pastor at that point for almost 12, 13 years. He says, I'm in this community of pastors within San Salvador. And I'm just talking to him, and nobody had a good answer on why he would say that. And so he said, I couldn't find in the New Testament. And so I began looking in the Old, he said, I got to First and Second Kings, and I got to God taking the kingdom away from Solomon and a house of Judah and into 2 houses, and who is the house of Israel, right? Because that's what he was looking for. And anyways, it just, everything started to through that just search, things began to connect, and then things that he had read in the New Testament. Anyways, long story short, he's been now teaching Torah for almost 3 years. He has almost 4,000 followers online, and
Wow.
every Shabbat when he's teaching, they kicked him out of the church. when he started doing it. And
That'll
so
happen.
yeah, absolutely. That's right. And so he's in a home fellowship that he's started a home fellowship out of his house, and his house is booked. He's got people online. He's got a camera, and he has somewhere around 800 weekly followers in San Salvador that are following him online. And it's just exciting. It's exciting what we're seeing, which is veils lifted and things that we've been praying for, and the stories that we're hearing of people coming back to just loving the Father the way He asked us to love Him, man, and being obedient. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see. It's awesome to see it in the United States. And just to kind of segue, it's with that it was about the time we talked that we actually started this project. And the why we did it was a little different then than it is now, but it's almost the fact that we've been obedient to something that's bigger than ourselves, and the Father's just been revealing to us little by little why He's done it, to really a culmination event over the last 30, 60 days that have really put this thing into overdrive, something that we've been working diligently on slowly, but now we're going, we got to get this thing done. And no more reason than the fact that not only in Central and South America have I been connecting with people in this walk, and on all sides, wherever they are, whatever their stories are, but I'm going to fellowships and churches across the United States, and I think I did so far this year. I think I did somewhere around maybe 22 or 23 different churches in the
Wow.
United States, and 2 or 3 a month some months. So we're staying busy, and I mean, I'm traveling, I'm flying, and anything from oof, fellowships that just call themselves Saturday church to MJA Messianic synagogues, and then everything in the middle, right? Talking about Project E15, and but a lot of just fellowships, anywhere from 50 to 500 plus.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot, I've met a lot, and and I did a few of them the year before, and at this point I think I've probably done about 40 different fellowships across, I don't even know how many states at this point. And I'm booked through June, talking to different pastors or fellowships that don't even have a pastor, that they're just kind of sharing it and getting the opportunity, because I do trade shows and things like that, and getting the opportunity again to talk, to connect, and just to love on brothers and sisters, man, and seeing how they're walking it out and their conviction, just a beautiful ministry that's coming out of each of these houses. And doing that, there's some real problems. And I am not. I've only been walking this out this is my 4th full year doing all the feast days, and so I'm not here to tell you the solution to a lot of problems, except the ones that I am specifically trying to solve through WBC. And I think the number one problem is nobody can find anybody. We are literally dispersed. We are siloed. We are. Just really hard to discover. And that's a problem. I was in Nashville walking this out for years before I even found out there was a fellowship.
Yeah.
I found about a year into this, I found the 119 Fellowship Finder.
Right.
And I went to 2 different fellowships that are on the Fellowship Finder. They'd been dormant for years. They stopped meeting. One of them, I went on their Facebook. It had been years since they even had a post. And so no wonder nobody was answering the phone or responding to the email. And so
Right.
I found, 119 is outdated. There's just a lot of information on there that's not relevant anymore, unfortunately. And it's difficult to get on, to get responses, things like that. We finally found a fellowship. And then once you kind of get into the community, it opens up a little bit, but it's only because people know people.
Yeah.
Right. And they've discovered it. And that's really hard, especially for people that's coming into this. And what I have found is, my gosh, there's so much gleaning from each other that needs to take place that's not happening. I have come in contact in the last 2 years with so many beautiful ministries, people doing amazing work that you guys should be interviewing, right?
Mhm.
And nobody knows about them.
Mhm.
And it's heartbreaking. And so I'm going, that's, it can't be me, it can't be you, it can't be, all these people. If we're just all waiting to introduce somebody on the internet and then hoping somebody watch, it's going to take us years. Like there's got to be a better way, right? And unfortunately, there's also division
Yeah.
that is coming from just doctrine, you know, and I for one don't believe that that's biblical, right? Let's not be Protestants,
Yeah.
and
Right.
join the 40 plus thousand denominations. The thing that I love about Brother Judah is um, you have all the you have different sects of Judaism, but they all go to the same synagogue, you know.
Mhm.
There's a sense of community, and even the whole midrash, it's like, let's argue, we can be on different pages, but we're not that's not what's going to divide us.
Right.
There's a lot of community we can learn from them, right?
Right.
And and, and we don't have that, and we need that, because what I'm also learning the longer I've been in this walk, because man, I got kids, I got a teenager, my oldest is 18. I got a middle schooler, I got an elementary school. And, I'm meeting families that have been walking this out a lot longer than we have. And oh, it's been hard. It's been hard on them because, they want to find spouses for their kids. They want
Right.
to find work where, they're trying to operate through Babylon,
Hmm.
but their
Right.
communities are so small, and it's hard to connect, and it's hard to do things. And young people, there's young people who are tempted of leaving the community because of the resource that the rest of the world has that we're not providing within this walk. And um and we got to get past that, because it exists, everything we need exists in this walk. We just we got to connect, and we got to connect on another level. And so with that burden, we've created Whole Bible Community. And and we're trying to do something, because everyone's on different internet, everyone's on different platforms of social media, and they're using something differently in different ways, and whatever generation they're in. And as we're building this, I'm listening to fellowships, and I'm seeing, first of all, every fellowship is doing it different. They're using a different app. Some are using Signal, some are using GroupMe, some are using WhatsApp, some are using Facebook. Some are just on text. I mean, everyone's using or managing their fellowship different. Everyone talks about how difficult it is to run a Sukkot, and the feast days are so cumbersome, from an administrative standpoint and putting something together. Um, and then, man, let's just be honest. Like, Google is dangerous.
Yeah.
YouTube is dangerous. I want to share a quick story with you, because when I came into this, I was leading the men's Bible study at my Sunday church. And I think I shared with you in the last podcast that, part of my coming to Torah story was my Sunday church split. And I kind of got unhomed, right?
Right.
And but my men's Bible study, several of the guys reached out to me, and they're like, can we keep this going? And so I kept the men's Bible study going. I just kind of went on Zoom, and it was just us, and they kept in. And then I moved over to Torah. And I told them, and we started in Genesis 1. And a lot of the guys stayed. Some of them got a little weird, but some of the guys stayed. One guy in particular, he comes on, and I start discipling him. And next thing you know, man, he's Shabbating. We're looking for a fellowship close to his house, which was impossible to find. He lives in Kentucky now. And, one day I go out and I see him, and we go have breakfast together. And um, he starts talking about some really weird stuff. And I asked him, I said, man, where did you hear this? He starts correcting me, on I'll say this. He found a guy on YouTube who said he was teaching Torah, but man, he was teaching some really wild things.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, man, you haven't been walking this out 6 months. You haven't even been through the Deuteronomy,
Yeah.
like you don't even know all the laws yet. And you're over here, getting really particular about things that
In the long run, don't really matter.
yeah, in the long run
Yeah.
don't really matter. And that's not the point. But
Yeah.
the guy he found on YouTube, he's really compelling, he's really charismatic, and he's got a following. And but the point is like it's then I'm going, did I just what did because I had a sense of fear of, here I was discipling this guy and I kind of let him loose, because he watched one of the videos I sent him, and then this guy was kind of in the feed and he just kept on
Mhm.
clicking on stuff. And
Yeah.
so, and then my parents, when I came into this walk, my parents Googled, what did they Google? I think they Googled like Hebrew roots or something.
Oh.
And next thing you know, my dad's calling me and he's like, you are denying the Christ, and
What
you
kind of
fought, and I'm
cult did you
like,
get yourself into?
yeah,
Right.
right. And then I start Googling this and I'm like, oh my gosh, but don't Google it.
Mhm.
So then you go, man, the internet's dangerous, to
It
send
is.
people. Like, what if we had something that we could send people when you're coming into this walk, where a place where you can say, hey, go here and you're going to find what this is, none of the weird stuff, and look, I like some of the weird stuff. It can get fun, right? But let's not like put that front and center of what this
Yeah.
is. Rabbit holes are fun. Um,
Yeah.
but let's also create a safe place for people that are coming into this walk to go to
Now,
learn and to find each other.
yeah, I appreciate what you're saying too. Jake and I have been really, I think that's what the Father has been raining down to those of us, I think, that'll listen. And that is not dividing over these things and finding unity. And I think that a lot of people are wanting that and realizing that we can have different ideas about what calendar you follow, how you want to say his name, and you don't have to divide fellowship and draw a line in the sand and have World War III about it, because you have a lot more in common than what is keeping you apart. And but I appreciate you saying that, and I do think that there's a movement of people wanting the same thing.
Yes. Well, and I'm not going to brag on my fellowship. I don't have the fellowship I attend, but so many of the fellowships that I go to, the thing that I love about it is exactly that. You go there and you ask them, what calendar do you follow? And they're like, well, it depends on who you ask, because
Yeah,
their fellowships come
Oh, that
together.
guy
They're
over
on
there.
different,
Yeah. And this guy over
yeah,
here.
that's
Yeah.
right.
yeah,
They're on different calendars. They're on different things, and you got all different, looks,
yeah,
also,
yeah.
and just where they're at, but they're all coming together. They're all
Mhm.
convocating, you know, and it is, and they're wrestling it out with each
Mhm.
other. And you're going, this is what, like, that's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. And and we need more of that, because I go to fellowships where they're a lot more narrow. You have to
Mhm.
believe this and you got to say it this way and you got to, and I'll still go, but I'm going, you guys are missing out, right? Because there's good
Yeah.
Yeah.
people. There's good people that should be part of this ministry, and is it right? Is it right to be marginalizing them? And so, and that's their responsibility to walk out. But I think there needs to be, and there should be unity. That's been oof, that's been the tale of Israel, right? Like,
Yeah.
that is the story of the tribes constantly being divided in this constant push that Yah is constantly trying to bring them together, trying to unite them under the judges, under the kings, and then we see it happen over time in these great feats of effort. And
Mhm.
so, it starts with, I want to start with like Genesis 11 and the Babel story, because the Babel story is a negative, but it has a positive message in it. Okay,
Right.
so it's a negative story, positive message. And this is the message. I think it's verse 6, and I wrote it down. Yah says this. He says, behold, they are one people, and they all have one language, And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and nothing that they propose to do will be impossible for them. You know, and the word here is that they are a cod. They are a cod.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, you know, that is what happens. That's what happens when we become a cod, that there's nothing. I mean, that's scriptural too, right? That when we come together as one, there's nothing that we can do, right? Where two or three are gathered, right? And so you
Yeah.
see this in Judges,
Amen.
Judges 20, they're in the promised land, and you know, the story, they cut the body parts up and they send it to the 12 tribes. And they come out as one man, right? And then they do something amazing. And then it happens again in First Samuel when they anoint King Saul. And then when they become exiled, you know, back in Ezra and Nehemiah, right? They come back together, scripture says, as one man, and they rebuild Jerusalem. And then you have, and so there's this positive of Yah constantly saying, you guys had like the catalyst of the prophetic happening, the catalyst of this thing I want you to do, to conquer, for conquest, to rebuild, to restore. The catalyst is everyone coming together as one man.
Mm-hmm.
And then um you have the prophetic when you go into the gospels, when you go into um, Paul, and this idea that like this is going to happen again, and that not only that, through Messiah we're going to become one new man, right? There's this oneness that it's constantly bringing back together. That's also prophetic, and what's going to happen? You go, okay, well, and not to get into one new man doctrine, because I know there's some places you can go there, but let's just on a basic premise say, well, that's spiritual Israel, that's Judah and the Gentile, that's like this coming together. And you go, how can we do that if we're so divided? Like, aren't we supposed to be united as we see brother Judah, in order for that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's a
how
good.
do we do that? How do we wave that banner? Because there's no unity happening right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and frankly, for some of us, that is what really frustrated me in churchianity, is that lack of unity. And when I would try to branch out and join other fellowships and, do this church at the park that we tried to do, and, they couldn't do it. And it wasn't for, it wasn't even a doctrinal thing. It was butts in the seat in their congregation. There's so many different things that divide and pull you apart. And it's just easy to fall into that. And we don't want to do that. And yet we find ourselves that is happening. And we just have to be very careful that it
Exactly.
doesn't wreck us. So,
Well, and in addition to that, you have well, you have people who, because we're so undiscoverable, there's so much unity wanting to take place that doesn't happen. And so for the last 4 years, we've spent Sukkot with the Grafted Church in Oklahoma, which is Lex Meyer and Unlearn and those guys. And because Lex, he has a really big YouTube following, and so there's hundreds of people that go to the Sukkot. It is a massive Sukkot, and people come from all over. I mean, it's wild how far people will travel. And so us going there, um, we we've gotten to meet people from all over, different ministries, different fellowships, and I've asked a few people, like, why do you travel so far? Like, are you doing this for Lex? Are you doing this? And they just tell me, I don't have a community by me. Like, I don't have anybody. I'm the only one. And so 4 years of that, it's amazing how many people that's not true. And then one year they don't show up, and I text them. I'm like, "Oh, hey, are you coming to Sukkot?" And they go, "Oh no, I found a fellowship." And I'm like, "Oh yes, right, woo," you know.
Right.
And then this is what they typically tell me. They were there the whole time, and
wow.
typically they were close. They just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stories where they saw somebody in the grocery store with zeets,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Or they, it's just random. And then yeah, and then they find their people, and then that's where they should Sukkot, right? And so it's not that there's not, it's just, and so the amount of people that they're first coming in, they know people from YouTube, they can't find anybody around them locally, and so they're going to these big Sukkots, and it serves a purpose. Those Sukkot serve a purpose until they find their community. But how often
Mhm.
it happens is wild. There's people that are at the grafted church. I was talking to a sweet couple just this past Sukkot. They said we were watching Lex for years, and one day we didn't know he had a church. And then one day we saw something about the grafted, and then we see him speaking at it. We find out it's in Oklahoma, and they said, "Well, it's 40 minutes from our house. Let's go." We thought he was coming as a guest speaker. Turns out, it's a Torah. They go to church there now, right?
Yeah.
They're like,
Wow.
"We'll drive 40 minutes." Shoot, we drive 45. I know people who drive over an hour.
Yeah.
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 So it's but they had no idea. They had no idea, and they've been watching him for years. They didn't know he was 40 minutes away from them. And you go, man, we got to be better than that. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, the other thing that we found we're missing out on, and we just recently discovered, we had, another fellowship in our backyard, 25, 30 minutes from us. And we did a combined fellowship with them. And,
Right.
and it was a great experience. They do things a little different, but a lot the same. And we read the Torah portion, talked about it. I think that's pretty universal. And
Yep.
and then doing that, I knew going into that, I was like, we're going to meet people that help us. And so,
Right.
and sure enough, I meet a mobile mechanic. And then I have this check engine light that I couldn't get to go off on a car, and he came over and fixed it. That guy, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam fixed it, and it was great to meet him. He's got this great mechanic business he's trying to start, and you just never know until we start connecting like that how we can help each other. And
That's right.
So
in the Jewish community, a dollar moves through the community 15 times before it leaves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the amount of brothers and sisters you meet in this walk who are having such a hard time walking out Torah because of employment,
Yeah.
finding a place that they can take the feast days off, finding a place sometimes that they can even Sabbath regularly. It's hard. It is hard. And we are a big enough community. It should be easy to start a business and
Yeah.
have brothers and
Yeah.
sisters. And we should be looking at our community first before and so there's a whole side of this that is business, it is marketplace for just that, right?
Yeah.
And so this is but going back to fellowship, you're right now, one of the things we're doing, because we found another community that's about 20 minutes away from us, and they're a little younger, but we started doing youth nights together. So our youth are meeting once a month together. We're bringing the youths together. We did a conjoined service, and they do a little different flavor than us, right? So, but there's some things that translates as well. And but I visited a church in over right on the edge of North Carolina, and both fellowships had about 60 to 80 people, and they started doing that. And then one day, after about a year, they said, this was their story, and this was like 4 years ago. They said, so between the two of them, they said they're probably, maybe 150, 160, if everybody showed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one day they just said, you know what, let's come together. Let's join together. We're going to share the leadership, share the pastoring, kind of, and we're going to merge. And they merged. They have almost 600 people today.
Wow.
And it's one of the biggest fellowships I've been to. And I've been to some big fellowships, and but their story started with neither one of them was big. They just came together, but it was like that started something,
Mm-hmm.
that just grew. That's beautiful, right? That's
that
awesome. Unique story, because typically you hear the opposite, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but then it hit me because we had a really big thing happen, right? We had Charlie Kirk die.
Mm-hmm.
And the father just downloaded, because I watched a lot of Charlie Kirk, and I was tracking, man, this guy was talking about Shabbat. I was watching when he was going to Sunday churches, he was talking about Sabbath, and he'd say things like, look, I believe most of what you guys believe. I'm like, I've said that in a Sunday church. I don't get invited to as many Sunday churches anymore, but every once in a while, I've gotten an invitation just from old relationships. Yeah, but it's been about a year. But that's something I used to say, and and then there's, there's clippets where people who are saying, well, that's the old covenant or that, and he's like, no, 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 and he defended the Torah. He defended uh all the commandments. And then he dies in a martyr, like literally the Martin Luther King of this generation. And not only that, he's got the book coming out, right? He's got the
Right.
Sabbath book coming out, Stop in the Name of God. And because of everything, I mean, this is already the most purchased book outside the Bible. 2 days after his death, they had to put it back to reprint.
Wow.
It's why I pre-ordered my copy back in September, August. I still haven't gotten it. Right.
Wow.
I told my wife, I'm like, we're just going to Barnes and Nobles. I'm gonna pick one up.
Hmm.
And I've talked to people already who have read it, and some profound things, some good. There's some things that he didn't go hard on, but I mean, he got it. Like he got it. And you're going to have an entire generation of young people, of people in general, reading this book. And the father just downloaded, and he says, "This is why I asked you to do this, because because where are they going to go? Like if somebody goes, I want to go to a Sabbath fellowship. I want to go to a Sabbath
Right.
church. Are we just going to let the seventh day gobble them up? I mean, how are we? And so by January 15th, this thing's going to be really close to hard launching. But I'm going to make sure that if you Google, because that's what I do, man. I'm a marketing guy. Like I'm in real estate. That's like my thing is marketing. In the next 30 days, the things that I've been doing the last 30 days, that I'll be doing the next 30 days also, that we're going to make sure that if you Google anywhere in the United States, right, and maybe even beyond, if you're Googling Saturday church, Shabbat fellowship, Sabbath fellowship, any of those things, fellowship finder, WBC is going to be the number one thing on Google. Fortunately, it's not going to be a big fight because there's not a lot of people trying to get on Google in that way.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we're going to be the number one thing they click on. The question is how many fellowships are going to be on this in the next 3 months, 4 months, for people that are, because I think it's going to be the next great awakening.
Mhm.
I do. I think the Sabbath and then because it was Sabbath for me. Sabbath opened the door to everything else. Next thing you know, I'm throwing away bacon and I'm, celebrating feast days. But it started with
Right.
Sabbath. You know,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
believe that's going to be for everyone else. And we're not ready. Our walk isn't ready. We're not.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go? If they got to do what I had to go through, oof,
Yeah.
bless them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to equip people in this walk to be ready for the awakening that we believe that we're on the fringe of. And I think definitely by spring we're going to be full into this. And so we're trying to get the word out. We're trying to get the word out. And this is so much different than any fellowship finder that has ever been created. And so I want to start there. I want to start with the fellowship finder piece of this, because this is not something that you have to apply. So a lot of people are on the 119 or have been on the 119, and there's a few other fellowship finders that churches or ministries have started. And that we're not a church, we're not a ministry, we're nothing. We are a complete third party. This is not doctrine. This is not, you got to believe this to come. It's like, no, you got Torah, come on, bring it in. And um and there's four kinds of accounts you can have. You can have an individual account, you can have a fellowship or church account, you can have a business account, or you can have a ministry account. Well, what's a ministry account? A ministry account is anybody like Project E15, what we're doing and doing kind of traditional ministry, widows and orphans, things like that. If you're doing, housing program, feeding program, if you're an artist, if you're a singer songwriter, your podcast is a ministry. If you're doing teaching, online teaching, if you're, anything within that gambit is ministry. Anything in the arts, you're doing Hebraic dance, right? All of those things.
Matt's all
That's
about
a
the
ministry.
Hebraic dance.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
And the truth is I've gone to fellowships, man, and I'm going, you guys don't dance. And they go, we don't have anyone to teach us.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna connect you, right? And so we can't find each other. Ministry, a homeschool co-op. is under ministry. We want people to find homeschool co-ops, people they're connecting with that are walking with their kids and doing homeschool and things like that. And so um, now this is the thing with the fellowship finder. We don't want to just create an account. That's not what this is. We want to bring something valuable that's to everyone that's on here. And so starting with the fellowship, this is a fellowship management tool. So the groups feature on this is just like works like a Signal, works like a WhatsApp or a GroupMe, like Facebook Messenger. You can do video call. You can also do cellular call. This is private comms off grid, right? That's important. So this is secure communication, and that all you need is an internet. And each fellowship and ministries can create groups. And with that, you can manage it. You can manage the comms. So like our fellowship, it's called Mosaic Life. And so we have like a Mosaic main where only the admins can kind of give updates, where we have in service this week, who's leading the children's this week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we got an event coming up, things like that. And then we have a Mosaic Men's where we have all the men in the group, a Mosaic Women, a Mosaic Youth, etc. Right? And but you can manage the comms and the structure with the fellowship. So if you have a fellowship account or a ministry account, you can actually manage that. So we have a prayer group and an update group for Project D15, and we've been using WhatsApp. We're moving this onto Whole Bible. With that, also we have, we have Thursday night prayer where we all get on video call. You're able to do that on WBC. So this replaces your Signal or your WhatsApp or your GroupMe or your Facebook or however you've been running your fellowship. And that's important because this is self-driven. We're not trying to manage it. And so if a fellowship just goes on there and creates an account, but it goes dormant, we have in the algorithm that it's just going to slowly hide your fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is we don't want somebody to go on there and go show up to an inactive fellowship.
Right.
And so having the fellowship tool really also verifies to people, hey, this is an active fellowship, and the more active they are, the more it's gonna be seen, because there's a geo-tracking part of this. And so for a fellowship, if somebody jumps on, especially if it's somebody who in their questionnaire says that they're not in fellowship, right? And maybe they say, their Torah date, they've only been in Torah for 2 weeks, there's certain people that it's going to prompt that fellowship, who's ever running that fellowship group, and they're going to say, hey, Matt is 12 miles away and he's not in fellowship. Here's Matt's, and it's gonna encourage the fellowship to connect. And also Matt, when he comes on, it's gonna highlight that fellowship, right? It's the one that's closer to them, that's super active, etc. And so now on top of that, it's a feast day management tool. So what's coming in January is this is also going to be a feast day finder. You're going to be able to search feasts based on what calendar they're using. Is it open to the public? Is it just open to the community? But on the ministry and fellowship side, that's going to have access to holding events and holding feast day events. They're going to be able to manage that with their community so much easier, right? Capacities, sign-ons, waivers, instructions, even deposits. We're going to make this automated for fellowships so that if they're running feast days, it's not just so cumbersome. So we're really cultivating a tool for fellowships to manage their fellowship, to manage the feast days, or maybe they're doing a Purim or a Hanukkah, and having fun events and using that for evangelism, right? And putting that out there, they're going to be able to advertise that. And for ministries that, maybe they're doing a fundraiser, or for you guys, and you're saying, hey, we're going live on YouTube. We want you to make that an event that's also, triggering people. And in a way that we can spotlight ministries. One of the things my wife's looking for, she goes around, she's listening, she's like, this is beautiful. And they're like, oh yeah, she's in this walk and she's in this state and she does, Hebraic worship. And my wife's like, how do you find these people? It's so hard. We want people that are in the arts and bringing music and dance and just gifting, man, paintings, whatever that is. And we want to spotlight that within this walk and make it easily findable. There's a couple. They're the Oswalts family. They go to my fellowship. They've been working with Luca Baffy on a project because she has a ministry. Him and her, they have a ministry called Hebrews and Shebrews. Have you heard of it?
We just saw it skimming through the.
Yeah, we did.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yes. And so they go to our fellowship and here in Nashville, or I should say north side, it's north of Nashville, not in the city, but they beautiful ministry and such a needed ministry, right? Let's help people get married in this walk, because I have people in my fellowship that their spouse doesn't come. They came into this walk, they haven't gone along, and their marriage is. And then I've met people that their spouses divorced them over this. It's, man, let's get equally yoked. Let's help people find people that are married, right? And we want to spotlight that. We want to make sure that ministries like that can have national impact. That right now they're going, well, we don't have a lot of outlets to really do this on a grand scale. And I'm going, well, I would love to give you the stage, right? Because I know everywhere we go, there's singles that are just looking. And they do a really good job. They do a really good job matchmaking. I mean, they have a gift. So that's what we're working on. That's a big piece of it, is the fellowships, the ministries, just getting people on the map, getting people connected and talking. And then by February, we'll have built the marketplace side of this.
Okay.
And the marketplace is anywhere from products from Tom Bradford's Holy Land Marketplace to the girl on Etsy selling seats. And anything in the middle, right? But it's also the service side of things. So it's that guy you were talking about who fixed your car, who's the mobile mechanic, right? Yeah. We want people to be able to search in their zip code all the businesses of men in this walk that are walking this out. That, if it's your real estate agent, maybe it's your tax guy, maybe it's a girl who has a salon. I don't know, anything in this walk. That's hitting your zip code. Businesses, when they sign up, they're going to hit zip codes that they service and what their service is, and then we're going to be able to review them. It's going to be like Google, right? And I don't know if you noticed, but if you go on that fellowship finder, it's a sophisticated system. If you go to a fellowship, you click on it, you can get directions, and it'll hit Waze, it'll hit Google Maps, it'll, you can get directions somewhere. And the business side of things is going to do the same thing. You're going to you'll be able to get directions. It'll have a contact. You'll be able to review if you do their service, right? And so we're really creating a sophisticated tool that we're using the 21st century technology for our benefit. That's something that's curated to us and how we do things and how we worship and how we interact with each other. One of the things that I do now before I hire anybody is I go into Torah fellowships, or not Torah fellowships, excuse me, Torah groups that are unique to states or cities. So there's a Tennessee Torah, and there's a Kentucky Hebrew, and things like that I'm members of, and I'll go there and I'll do job postings there first before I even post to the outside. I tell my HR manager, I'm like, look, don't hire anybody just yet. Let me fish over here first. They have no idea. They're not walking in Torah. They have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
They just know more people with tzitzits keep showing up to the office.
That's funny. Well, that's at work. That's how I found my marketer. So I actually went to the Ruckus, which was sponsored, by Caleb House. Yeah. And I met, my booth was next to Madeline, Maddie, the marketer, Madeline Dunn. And I was talking to her and I was like, wait a minute, I need help with that. Could you help me? And so she helps me do that. So, Yeah, so I
That's
meet
it.
with her
That's what it's supposed
once
to
a month,
be.
and we're
Man,
always talking about, during feast and stuff like that. We have that in connection, even though the company I'm working for is not necessarily Torah, but I
right,
was in charge of that decision, so I could
right.
do what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and the beautiful thing about men coming into business, knowing there's a community out there to help them support them, but also that um, for businesses that are um, allowing Sabbaths off, allowing the feast days and things like that, because we have all different religions at my workplace. We got a lot of employees, and but our model is, we have a company policy that states we're going to respect your faith. And if you have a religious holiday, there you go. And we don't work Saturdays, right? And so we're bringing men in the fold that, that's a game changer for them. And we want a place where people can not only start business, work, make sure that they're offering their services or their product to the community in a more streamlined way. They're not having to search all the other sites through all the other things that may not be in this walk. Um, but also just from a hiring standpoint and a staffing standpoint, it'd be awesome. We're gonna get to the point. It's gonna be awesome, where we're gonna be able to list job ads and things like that in here also. And so everything that's gonna support this community is gonna be part on the business side is gonna be working part of the marketplace side of this. And so once we have, so January is going to be the feast day finder. February marketplace will be completed. The hard launch is February 15th. And by January 15th to February 15th, we're going to be number one on Google to start bringing everybody in the fold on this. By May, somewhere around mid-May, we're going to be an app on the App Store, both on Google and Apple. And so we are while we're developing the website, we have a team of 2 doing the app development right now. And so as we get some of these features going, and we're adding more and more features every week, even in what already exists. But the app is going to just make it next level, right? People love apps. It's simpler on an app, and we're excited for it to be an app.
Yeah,
But
that was
we
that
need
was going to be one of my questions, is if there's an app version of it.
Absolutely. And we'll have, and so once the app comes, we're over the summer, what we're prioritizing is we want this to be a platform for music and video, right? And so for those artists in ministry, the teaching, things like that, there'll be one of 2 ways to do it. They can literally put it on our site, and it run almost like a Spotify, right? But also, they'll be able to do links as well. They'll be able to do links as well. And so for those that are making money on YouTube, rather than put their video on, they can hyperlink their video and they can watch, just like Facebook, they can watch the YouTube through our site. So they're still getting that hit or that click, if that's something that's important to them. So they'll be able to do that either way, and that's a big part of what we're looking to do this summer is having the media platform side of it. And then with that, we're going to be really working with some really solid ministries like 119 to make sure that because there's so many ministries out there that have really good resource for people to start their own home fellowship
Yeah.
or um, lane of ministry or operate to where a lot of people are coming into this and they're reinventing the wheel. And there's a lot of tools out there for people to really, have a foundation to build from. And depending on what flavor of cooking they're looking for, right? And to make sure that that's all easily accessible in one spot as well.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we believe that we're going to be a great distance down the road of unity at that point, not just in this nation, but also internationally. A pastor friend of mine, his name's Mike Sutcliffe. He's out in Illinois. He introduced me to a guy out in India named Avi Lawrence, and Avi, between Pakistan and Zimbabwe and Papua New Guinea, obviously India. He's in India. Um, oh man, so many countries. He is connected to over 73,000 different people in Asia and North Africa that are in this walk,
Wow.
and it's blowing up. And
Mhm.
so there's a global thing that's happening. There's a global thing that's happening. I see it in Central and South America. It's like, you guys have no idea. We don't even know. I was talking to John at 119 about WBC, and he had tons of insight because he's had the most successful fellowship finder to
Right.
date,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so he's been really beneficial. We had a great conversation, and he kind of told me some things to look out for, things to consider, that was really beneficial. And I just asked him, I said, man, like, do you have a census? Like, how many people? And he's like, look, man, he said, I don't even know. But he said he's taken more people off the 119 Finder than he's put on, because, people don't want just their information out there. And that's one
Right.
of the things we did, is you can create an individual account and you don't have to show your email or your phone number.
Mhm.
You get to choose. You can, but you don't have to. And that was a big negative for a lot of people that want to get off the fellowship finder, because people don't want their information out there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, but he goes, but man, he's like, I haven't counted. He's like, but I'll tell you this, it's a lot. There's a lot
Mhm.
of people, and it's growing. And he's months behind, with
Mhm.
applications of people trying to get on, or information change, or things like that. And that's one thing where I'm going, man, I'm not going to do something that's so laborious that we got to
Yeah.
go and, like, people can all do that themselves, and let them
Right.
Yeah.
manage it. And we've created safeguards, and we do have admin on there to just make sure that content is safe, you know, and there's nothing crazy happening. And we got a policy, that's a very simple policy, but it's, one that we're all respecting each other and being appropriate. Or, you get suspended, or we'll kick you off, etc. Just like any other site. But we built this also kind of like a honeycomb, in the sense that anybody that's on there, you choose who's in your circle, who's in
Mm.
your bubble. And when somebody requests to connect with you, you get to see enough of them to decide, do I want to? And that goes for fellowships. You don't just get to join a fellowship. You can request to go into that fellowship group and join that fellowship, and then the fellowship will determine whether or not they want you in or not. So, and then that way you get to protect your bubble. You don't have it's not like Facebook, where you just join a public group, where you can just go on a public. There's nothing's public here. It's your stuff, and then you choose your bubble. And if there's anybody that you don't want to connect with for whatever reason, you can block them. You don't have to. You don't have to engage. um and that way we can all manage it ourselves, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good. Jake, did you have some questions? You were looking at.
I have several questions,
Okay.
Come on.
but um, so I just want to make sure I kind of put these questions in a way that kind of makes sense. So, yeah, one of the things you kind of were just talking about was, some people don't want their information out there, that kind of thing. And I think that, we're dealing, like earlier too, like you kind of started with this, like explosive growth that we're having. And then like also a combination of like people going out and finding different information everywhere and coming back with some crazy things. I think this walk kind of tends toward people that are generally untrustworthy of the systems in place. And so I think you get a lot of individualism and a lot of wanting to be secluded from everything else. I think that's one of the reasons it's so hard to have this kind of unity and togetherness that you're kind of talking about. So I think that the way you're kind of compiling this is good to address that.
Absolutely.
How do you think? Let's see. So you talked with the 119 Ministries guys, right? And
Yep.
about some of the issues they had with their fellowship finder. So what kind of things are you doing to kind of steer clear of some of the pitfalls that kind of happen there. Because I think one of the things I had heard was some people were like exploiting the information that was on it in order to like cause trouble at different places or take people's information, things like that. So what kind of safeguards are in place to kind of mitigate that issue that they kind of ran into? And have you been talking with them about that part of it?
Yeah, well, yeah. So this, I mean, first of all, so this site is locked down. You're not, and that's unfortunately that's the problem with a lot of the fellowship finders that people created is they did the cheap version. And the problem with the cheap version or the free version is there's no protections, you know? And so that was the first thing we had to do is we have to build our own thing. We have to build our own thing. We can't get something off the shelf, and we have to build it to be safe and protected, and to make sure that people can have as much privacy as each one chooses. So nobody can get your information, even if you can put your information out there public or you cannot. And then even if they connect with you, they're able to call you through this, just like a WhatsApp, right? Or a Signal. They're able to video call you, they'll be able to call you, they'll be able to message you, but you could still even hide your phone number and email from them, your actual phone number and email from them even. So extremely private to the extent you want it to be, And then even in fellowship, and then go ahead.
So the like in the map version where it has different like groups and individuals kind of plotted out, that's like if you like choose to put on the map, then you can put your information on the map. Is that's kind of what you're talking about?
You to be on the map, you're going to be on the map no matter what. You don't have to do your photo. You can do an emoji, you can do anything, have a little bio, I think you have to have a marriage status on there. But there's very few things you have to have on there. Very few things.
Yeah.
It's gonna have
like
your name
it'll be just
or
like a generic location then.
That's right.
Okay.
And you get to set, so you put in your address, but then separately you set your PIN. So you can kind of set your PIN wherever you want.
Okay.
Right. Also.
Yeah,
and that's why that feature is a little different.
Address. Sorry, I'm stepping on you. And then the specific address only comes up like when you send it out to whoever or allow someone to see it.
That's right. Or if you select that you're okay with it being public, or if you're okay with your friends seeing it.
Right.
So if you click on those specific privacy settings. Now a fellowship, the fellowship, you do have to have your address, your phone number, when you worship, your email, but you're a fellowship, you're a church, if you're open, for people to come and go, but they don't get to go into your communications. They don't get to get onto your page and see really what's going on. They have to request to join that.
Okay.
And so and then from a layer, they'll say, hey, what calendar is this fellowship following? And multiple is an option. We do multiple calendars. Because we get that, so that you kind of know what you're going into also, when you're coming into a fellowship, because it's kind of a bag of cards sometimes on what you're getting. And then with businesses also, your information is public, but you're not putting what calendar you're on and things like that with your business. It's more just, this is what we're doing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so even for the guys that are going, hey, I'm not trying to get my information out there, but you're still trying to be part of the community in regards to fellowship, of business. A lot of these guys, even though they're kind of off grid, they're still selling something. They're still participating with the fellowship or with people in some sort of commerce. And so this is a resource for them. This is a resource to be as much of a recluse as they want to be, but also and connect with their community, connect with their people. And I'll tell you, that's one of the reasons people like Signal. Is Signal boasts that it's private, that it's No one's going to see your stuff. But it's like, well, that's true until Signal gets bought,
Right.
because that's what
Yeah.
happens to all of them. And so we're bringing the same privacy, the same security that a Signal app's bringing for your communications, for your chats, for your video calls, everything else. And we're putting that as part of your fellowship management system and how it's going to run a feast day. So you got a feast day, and um, I know one of the hard part with feast days for a lot of fellowships that are putting their feast day out there is going, how do you um, how do you know to let this guy in or not?
Right.
Who
Yeah.
is so when a guy is wanting to come in Sukkot or they're wanting to come to Passover, you're kind of seeing how long has he been in Torah, who's he walking with, the fellowship side of things, they're going to get to see a little more if somebody requests, so that they have better decision making on, is this guy trying to cause trouble, or is this guy
Right.
legitimately wanting to come into community?
Yeah.
And that's going to give them a little bit of a pulse on things. You're
Hmm.
going to see, is he being discipled? Is he in fellowship somewhere? Who else is he connected with? How long has he been walking in Torah? What calendar is he on, etc. Before they bring him in.
Right.
And then likewise, on the back end of things, what we're doing is the information that people are inputting, we're able to recommend people better. The people that as we get thousands of people on here, etc., we're going to be able to show and recommend, hey, so and so's on the same calendar, and so and so's,
And is
and
that
bringing that
through?
together.
Is that through an algorithm, or do you have
That's through
people
an
like
algorithm.
monitoring? Okay.
Yeah, through an
The other thing
algorithm.
I was going to say is this is quite ambitious, and there's a lot to it, a lot going on. And how many people do you have working on this?
For a year, I've had 6.
Wow.
So a team of 6. And they've been killing it. And there's so much more that's built that's just not ready yet.
Right.
But it's coming. It's coming quick. And we're really preparing. We've set a February 15th date, hard date
Mhm.
for our hard launch, because I Googled how long it takes the average person to read a book. And sometime so the book got released December 15th. I'm anticipating the vast majority of people who pick it up and start reading it like a normal book, even though now the book's delayed a little bit and a lot of people haven't even gotten it yet, including myself. And so that could even be pushed back more. But I'm anticipating that mid-February is when the vast majority of people reading the book are going to have read it and then discovering, going, I want to find who's doing Sabbath. I want to find
Right.
who's doing Shabbat. And I want to make sure that we're ready then.
Yeah, that makes sense. In book, you're referring to the book you mentioned earlier that Charlie Kirk wrote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's the name of that book again?
Stop in the name of God.
Stop in the Name of God. No, that's good, and I like the tiles and things. And like we said, if you look at this soon, these are works in progress and will be built out as they have time and talent to do so. But
That's right.
but yeah, we like what we're seeing. That looks like a great resource. And do we want to show the video now?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so let me click over here. Let me make sure the audio should be good. Then here we go.
Platform or a fellowship finder or a feast day finder, not just an amazing tool of Torah resources, not just a marketplace for products and services of brothers and sisters in business in this movement, but something greater, something that unites us at a level that hasn't happened before, a tool for fellowships to use to take this movement to the next level. Check it out, wholebiblecommunity.com.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right. Let me.
I think it's
flip back
exciting.
over. Yeah, it's super exciting. So
Yeah.
I see a lot of potential in that, and I really like what you're saying about connecting people in the marketplace, and that is one of the things that Madeline Dunn and I talked about was keeping the money in the community, and we need ways to branch out and find pathways to make that easy to do, because
Right.
so many people, you walk in this, and I do think there's a spirit of entrepreneurship that comes into this walk for a lot of people, and a lot of home businesses and things, and sometimes it's created from demand because you can't find maybe a soap that is pork free or something, and so you make
Right.
one, and next thing you know, you start selling them, and
Yep.
other people
That's
want
right.
it. So
That's right. That's
So-
right. Man, there's so much good stuff. That's one of the things I look forward to Sukkot every year is as a marketplace. I tell people I buy all my tallow at Sukkot.
Yeah. Well, I remember years ago, I was at a thing. It was a conference that they had in Texas. It was Knowing the End from the Beginning, and Lex was there, and Zach Bauer was there, Rob Skiba was there, and Steve Mutria was there. And I remember Zach, there was a marketplace thing on that, and Zach had this salt that he had smoked. And he was like, "Man, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that has smelled this salt has not bought it. And, anybody that smelled it, they always bought it." And he's like, "I'm just warning you ahead of time." And he told me the price, and what I do, I smelled it and I bought it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I put that on everything. I was like, I was like, I didn't even know you could smoke salt.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah,
amazing, though.
It is
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it made everything taste better that you put it on, and then all of a sudden it had the smoky flavor. So it was cool.
Well, we're working right now. Also, by February, we're working on getting it in Spanish, and we know it's going to explode in Central America just from the relationships and connections. I know more people in this walk in Central America at this point than I do in the United States, and I know a lot of people in the United States at this point also. And then we're working with our friend out there to get it in Hindi and other languages as well, Arabic, for some of those communities. And I'm really excited for almost a kind of census, to take place, but also, man, just what I believe that the Father will do and what we can be capable of when unity comes. Unity comes.
Well, something that I was at a family fellowship this week, and one of the guys in the fellowship, he works for a Bible translator, and I was talking to him. I guess this was Sunday, and he was talking. They had some kind of group conference with all their missionary or all their translators from around the world had come in, and this guy was talking about all the people in the Muslim world that were having dreams. Mm-hmm. And he said they're having, having dreams of Yeshua speaking to them, and they're converting and by large numbers. Yes. And, that's amazing and very encouraging. And I know people are waking up all over the world to these things.
That's right. Well, my brother, he's in Saudi right now, Jeddah, the city of Jeddah in Saudi. He does Mount Sinai tours, and he's got
the real Mount Sinai.
The real Mount Sinai.
Uh-huh.
Yes, the real Mount Sinai, and they got an underground church there, and amazing testimonies. He's been in Saudi about a year. Before that, they were in Iraq, and then before that, he was in the Golan Heights in Israel amongst the Druze, which is were Syrians that came in on their territory, and but still a Muslim group. And you're absolutely right. There's tons of ministry and people coming to Messiah through dreams and visions, and most of his fellowship has been growing through people just knowing the Westerner there, and in their dream, them sending them to him.
Wow.
I'm like, man, what a ministry! You just have to be there, and people show up.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like the Book of Acts.
That's right. Yeah, Central America, we got to feed them first.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You know, you know, talking about the Middle East and even um, talking to talking to Orthodox Jews. You know, I do trade shows. I speak at a lot of fellowships, but I do a lot planning around trade shows that I'm at because I travel all over for trade shows, and I typically try to connect with the fellowship that's around that trade show. I don't always get it doesn't always work out that way, but I do a lot of that. And at these trade shows, there's several Orthodox Jews that come, especially the international ones. And I have some amazing stories connecting with Orthodox Jews, and I intentionally, when I go there, I wear all black. I wear a ball cap, so they're not seeing that I'm not wearing a kippah. I got my tzitzits, you know, and so there's a presumption that I'm Jewish when they see me, and I have some great conversations with them, and they ask me if I'm Jewish oftentimes, and I tell them I'm not. And then that sparks just a really interesting conversation, and we don't have time to go through all of those, but you know, you get to a point too where you've what I hear the most often that just it's just the ruach, man. The spirit just comes over me because I know it's just him at work in this guy, is when they say things like, I've never heard of anybody like you before. Never heard of somebody who believes in the Messiah, who's Shabbating, who's doing feast days. They're perplexed, you know. So you're not Jewish, and you're wearing tzitzits, and you're following the Torah, and they're perplexed, and they're actually very open. You know, I've been invited to Israel, I've been invited to their homes to Shabbat with them. They want their families to meet me because they're interested. Like, who is this guy? You know. He's not doing Christmas. He's not doing Sunday. They're perplexed and they're curious. And there's a side of me that has a little bit of fear, because then they go, what is this thing behind you? You know, and where do I take them? What do I show them? Do I say, well, there's a community of 50 of us over here.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
It's like, so like at the core of like, why do I think that this needs to take place is I do believe that there's the revelation of Messiah is going to come, and the fullness of the Gentiles takes place. And I think one of the things,
a place to send people.
That's right. And for them to really see something significant enough that's respectable, where they go, oh, wow, this is a thing. You guys are an organization. You guys are this is a faith. And not only is it a faith, it's us, right? Like they can see themselves in it. You know, they can see what we're doing, what we stand for, and it coincides. And then wouldn't it be amazing if they said, let's come together? Like, it's not just like Matt at the trade show they're inviting in, but it's this image of like Brother Judah himself bringing us into the fold and saying, we want to invite you in to our worship. Come Sabbath with us together as one man, you know. And I believe there's already ministries that beautiful ministries that are serving Israel and that are doing beautiful ministry with Brother Judah. Some of that we need to spotlight it. You know, we want to get that on there. We want to make that easily accessible for people. But at its core, I really think that the Father's going to do something in this that is going to be far, far greater. Once unity truly takes place amongst us, I think then we'll see unity taking place with Brother Judah in a way that's miraculous.
Yeah, it's hard to call for unity with Judah if we're not even united.
That's right. That's right.
Just a quick question on the you mentioned on the running into a bunch of Orthodox folks. Do you ever run into anyone who's like angry about you wearing tzitzits but not being Jewish?
I have never run into an angry Orthodox Jew because I was wearing tzitzits.
Okay.
I have ran into angry Messianics for not wearing a kippah.
Mm.
I have ran into now. So I wear a Shabbat now, right? So I used to wear my tzitzits on my belt loops. I don't do
Mhm.
that anymore. The first trade show I wore tzitzits. I had a Jewish guy. He came on to me. He literally yanked my tzitzit and lifted my shirt and said, "You're wearing them wrong." And then he began to teach me how to wear them. Right now, at that time, I have a tattoo on my arm. And not a lot of Jews have tattoos, obviously. Some do, but not the Orthodox ones. Not the Orthodox ones, not the, you know. And um and so, he had saw the tattoo, so he saw, well, and he just came and he's like, I'm gonna teach you a thing or two. And he took the time to teach me how to do it right. He didn't ask me anything. He didn't ask me what I believed. He didn't ask me. He just made his assumptions, had some really wonderful conversations, told me shalom, told me what I was doing wrong, and went about his business. Um, I've had I've had most of them tell me I'm their brother. Call me brother.
Mm-hmm.
The interaction, the main interaction that I have, that's the most common conversation, is that if they ask me if I'm Jewish and I say no, they say, then why? Why do I look like this? Why am I wearing tzitzits? Why do I look like this? And I say, well, my rabbi's Jewish. And they say, oh, well, who's your rabbi?
That's a good one. Mm.
And I say, his name's Yeshua. And they look at me perplexed. And then we unpack that,
That's genius.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then some of them, so they'll say, oh, so sometimes they say, oh, you're a Christian. And I say, well, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
And the most abrupt thing that somebody has said is, one of them, his name is Kime Fisher. I'm still friends with him. We still chat and we talk sometimes. And beautiful relationship. And he's one of the ones that is really chasing this relationship. But he said, you worship a Greek god named Jesus who commands you to worship on Sunday and celebrate Christmas. That's what he told me. And I said, well, then I'm not that. I said, I worship a Jewish Messiah named Yeshua who commands me to follow his Shabbats and celebrate his feast days and be obedient to his Torah. And he looks at me and he goes, so you're Jewish? And I said, look, man, I guess I am whatever you say I am. I'm just telling you why I wear this. And Kaim goes, let me tell you a joke. I said, okay. He said, there's a Jewish man and his son, and he moves to the United States, and his son goes to a high school in the United States, and he becomes a Christian. And he said and he becomes a Christian, and the Jewish dad gets so upset, he goes to the rabbi, and he says, I had a good Jewish boy and he became a Christian. He grew up a Jew his whole life. I don't know what to do. Rabbi, tell me what to do. And the rabbi just puts his head down. He says, I'm so sorry. He says, the same thing happened to me. I don't even know what to tell you. He says, you know what we need to do? We need to pray. He says, and so they pray to God, and they pray to God, and they say, God, Hashem, Hashem, we had good Jewish boys, and they came to the United States and they became Christians. I don't know what to do. And God looked down at them and said, I don't know what to tell you. The same thing happened to me. And and I laughed. And and I told Chaim, I said, it's sad, isn't it? Like, it's sad, that is the truth, that the people who call themselves Christians, they walk in that. I said, but that's not Messiah. And
Yeah.
that's not what the Messiah stood for. And then I reinforced the Shabbat, and I reinforced Torah and the feast days, and none of them, not a single one, has ever gotten upset with me.
You ever tell
I've
them?
had.
You ever tell
Go
them
ahead.
when they say, "Well, then you're Jewish"? Do you ever say, "Well, I'm a lost sheep from the house of Israel"?
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't. I should. But there are a lot of Orthodox Jews that, I mean, I don't engage with them. I'm not putting that out there.
Right.
And some of them they look at me, they don't ask, or we'll just talk, but we don't get religious. And I'm, and I'll tell them shalom, and I'll, but and a lot of but there are several of them that are very curious. They're very curious. They see me, they're like, you don't,
Right.
um, and then and then they engage, and those are things we pray into before we go to a trade show. Man, we're praying into that, and praying that there's ministry, because we have a heart, for Brother Judah and them coming to the truth Messiah, but also just the fullness of what we believe Messiah is going to do.
Right.
In creating one new man and bringing the house of Judah and the house of Israel back together. And to your point, and what we've been talking about, 100% I agree. How is he going to do that if we're not united?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear about what you're doing. And so now, what's the call to action? What do people do? What people that are listening to this and watching this show, listening to this interview, what do they do?
Yeah, sign up, make an account. If you know somebody in ministry, somebody who has a business or is in business, your fellowship, get on here. Move your fellowship communications on here. Get off your Signal, get off your GroupMe, your WhatsApp, get on the app, start using it. When you get on the app, there's email. If there's anything glitchy, please let us know. That's the phase that we're in. Help us work out any of the glitchy stuff. It's been pretty smooth. It was a little rough a few weeks ago, but it's been really smooth the last month. And really, get off some of the social media that just is not good. I used to tell people I'm okay with Facebook, but I'm not okay with social media for any of the other stuff and the kids, because there's just some really grotesque stuff on there. But Facebook has gotten bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook has gotten really bad. And and we want to make sure like this is a place that's safe for your kids. It's a place safe for you, man. You don't get the filth. Like, let's get out of Babylon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And do community better in the same way. And so, which is why we have all the features we're doing with the marketplace and everything else. We want this to be as much a replacement as anything else, as a better alternative on top of everything else we've talked about, but also a place where young people can get together, a safe place for young people to widen the body and walk with each other into greater connection, that they don't feel so secluded as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's
great.
It's needed.
Yeah.
And what the best part is? It's free.
Free.
Yeah.
That's good.
Come on.
So if you Google wholebiblecommunity.com, you'll find this. It's going to be easy to search and find, and there'll be an app coming soon. And we encourage everybody within earshot to go check it out. Sabbath Lounge has an account here, and so we want everybody that can hear this to give it a try. All right.
Yeah.
And so, Matthew, anything else we need to say or you want to say?
No, thank you so much for the evening. This was fun.
Good. Well, it was great to hear from you again. Great to reconnect with you and hear about the great things that you're doing. It's an honor to have the privilege to visit with you this evening about it, and we hope that it just does amazing things for the kingdom. And but thank you for your time. And we're about to end this, and we'll play our outro, but stay on the line for just a minute, and we'll do some housekeeping before we get off. So, Jake, anything else?
Yeah, just real quick. I do appreciate the like early on coming into this, telling people that you know and love what you're doing. There's I was hit with well, you're causing disunity by doing what you're doing. And my response was always, well, if you want unity for the sake of unity, just stop doing what you're doing and do what I do. You're the one calling for all this unity. But I like that you're not looking to do a unity for unity's sake. There's actually a purpose behind the unity, and it's not just it says do unity, so be unity. I like that.
That's right. That's
the direction it's going. And then something I've been thinking about a lot lately is so I think while I was reading Paradise Lost, this idea kind of sprung to mind about how when they eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the way it describes it in that poem, it made me think that, we're still eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And just because we did it once doesn't mean it's still okay to keep doing. And so this is just something I'm mulling over in my mind. I'm not really sure what it necessarily means, but what you're describing here seems a way to pull yourself out of the standard internet mess of a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And but I think that's pretty interesting, and I think this kind of ties into that. I was getting a lot of thoughts of, hey, this kind of goes along with what I've been thinking on the tree of knowledge of good and evil thing. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Well, and to add to that, because I've connected with so many fellowships, I've been an awesome conduit. The Father's just used me to be a conduit, connecting people. Because, in the Sunday church world, they got the mega church, and then they got all these people do all these things. And they got this huge paid staff, and they got the lights, and they got $1 million playground. And in our fellowships and our walks, we're not resourced to that level. And there's some good things that goes with that, but also with things that are really, though, beautiful ministries that just some fellowships don't have. And we had a couple I know that, they just really need marriage counseling, and some of their marriage counseling they need, you need somebody walking in Torah to walk these people through some of their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over at another fellowship, and I find there's a beautiful couple that are certified, they're educated, they're experienced in marriage counseling. And they're like, we're looking for people who need marriage counseling. And I'm like, you should not, I don't know how you have trouble finding people.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what, I'm going to make you the busiest two people on the planet. You're going to hate me. And, it's just so many ministries that are so good for this walk that, again, it's hard to find, and in the size of our community, when we get outside that bubble and we tap into the community at large, when we tap into all 12 tribes, it exists, it's out there. And I'm excited because I know what little help being a conduit I've been able to be, this is going to put that at another level, and hopefully can heal marriages, can launch ministries, can build bridges to things that the Father has put on people's heart that they didn't know was possible until, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome. All right. Well,
thanks again.
Yeah, it was great hearing about what you're doing, and we encourage everybody to go check out wholebiblecommunity.com and join us. And we are there, and we'd like to see you there as well. And please put your fellowships and pay attention to the upcoming updates and all the things that are going to roll out, and use it as a resource for your group. And we want to thank Matthew Martin for telling us about it and your time today. And we hope that Yah blesses you and everything that you're doing here. So,
Shalom.
All right, shalom. And this is Matt
and Jake
signing out.